So I've been spending a lot of time just traveling around the country and broke. A lot of times I pick up hitchhikers and I'm like, I don't have any money, whatever, I have a car, do you have gas pitch? And they're like, no, we're broke too. So I'm like, okay, well then can you guys help me like beg gas and stuff so that we can get you to where you're going, and then I'll continue on to wherever I'm going, which I don't even usually know at the time,
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of leads me to like spending a lot of nights just like sleeping in my truck in Walmart parking lots. And like you've been driving all day, and like you pull off and you're parked and you're sitting there and you're like, well, man, I'm not really ready to go to sleep yet, but I can't drive anymore, and I need to stick around this Walmart because I don't know how many more like miles it's going to be to another Walmart, and I'm gonna need to spange this place in the morning so I can, get a little bit of cash to put in the gas tank and hit the road in the morning. So it's just kind of like, all right, we got to kill a couple hours till I fall asleep, and there's some strangers I've never met in the car, and sometimes it helps to be stranger than the strangers. So one of the things I like to do, and this works best on the West Coast, where it starts earlier, is listen to Coast, which is an AM talk show where people call in to tell their crazy stories about, catching Bigfoot in the garage using the belt sander, and alien abductions and what have you. And
some Alex Jones level conspiracy theory.
A little different than that, but it's out there, and I love out there. So one of the best ones that I've heard recently was a lady talking about alien clones in the healthcare industry. Now what she says is that this alien race has taken people, cloned them, disposed of the original, planted the clone in their place. Pretty familiar story. But they specifically target the healthcare industry because while these people are like laying in beds in various states of like comatose or whatever, they can anesthetize them and insert a urinary catheter up their nose, somehow puncture this into their adrenal gland and suck out their adrenal fluids. And now then they take those catheter bags full of adrenal fluids and they ship this up to the mothership where the aliens drink it for sustenance. Who knows why they need adrenal fluids to survive.
Or where they're using our technology to do it.
Right, and why they don't have something more advanced than a urinary catheter.
Yeah.
Or something more advanced than how she says they anesthetize him, which is by putting a few grains of ketamine on their finger and putting it under their nose so that they accidentally inhale it, which then puts them in this date rape state where they can't remember what happened to them and they're total submissive to whatever's going on.
Which does happen when you're in ketamine, but still.
Well, I'll get to that part. So, she also says that they will visit you in your home, and that she frequently gets visitors in her home, and she has these missing time periods and blackouts, and she will find, like, remnants of ketamine around her house, and that's how she knows they've been there, and blah, 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 blah. How, for, like, a year straight, they came to her every night and knocked her out so that she couldn't listen to Coast and call in and tell the story. And it's a fascinating story. And really, I'm in no place due to like my own astral travel experiences, my own theories about like conspiracies with aliens from Alpha Centauri controlling our government. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm just like willing to accept that this lady believes this and be like, man, that was a pretty cool story, except for the fact that, and I hope the statute of limitations is over this, but for a while, like decades ago, because I'm a little older than I look or let on, we used to pick up cases of ketamine from Boston, and when you're sitting with like 20 vials of ketamine, someone's got to cook the shit. So I just happened to be really good at it. So boil a pot of water, put a glass plate on there. One vial at a time, peel the foil off, put it in there, sit there with a card and just like scrape it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I used various tools for that, like a little putty knife, stuff like that. And eventually you get this nice fine white powder. And then it's like, okay, that plate's done. Go and scrape it into the pile in the living room on the coffee table. put the plate back, another vial. Meanwhile, I've got like a house full of floppers and stuff like that, and they're like, you know, blowing the ketamine as fast as I can make it. You know? And then by the end of the night, all the vials are done. Everybody else has done so much, they've gone to bed and passed out. I'm the only one still awake, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, whew, I've just spent the past like 4 or 5 hours doing this. I'm tired, whatever. Kind of stressed out because I've been paying so much attention, focused on one thing this whole time while all my friends are out partying in the other room, and I'm like blocking them out with blinders and just trying to pay attention to what I'm doing. And so then like to the victor go the spoils, I guess. I would go and see like the giant mound still left because they just couldn't handle that much, and just be like, all right, now it's my turn. So then I'd get like cut myself in 2 big fat lines and just rail those things down, and then spend the next like 45 minutes or so just sitting there like, oh God, I think my heart stopped beating. Well, okay, all right, no, there it is. Okay, and then I'm like, one of my favorite things to do is like watch Animal Planet, watch them inject animals with ketamine and knock them out, and then watch them come back out of it and be like bonking their head against the side of the cage and just being like, oh, and the whole time I'm sitting there like, I know exactly how you feel, man. But there's like little tricks. It's like for the human body, it would take such an excessive dosage to actually render you unconscious, like it does an animal. And even if you did, like, there was an incident at a rave, you know, probably like a decade before that was like, some kid spilled a whole vial on himself and was just like passing out in the corner. We just started shoving pixie sticks and stuff down his throat because sugar will snap you out of it. Good handy little thing to know. Sugar and water, you know. And so back in the day, you had that in a kit. People thought you carried around all this candy because you were a candy kid, but it was almost like a first aid kit in a way. Yeah. You know, massagers and stuff were like, in case anybody was having a bad time on a candy flip or something, you could be like, let me give you a back massage, calm you down, you know. So there's some little tricks. So knowing that, like, and knowing that I've done just obscene amounts of this drug, and can remember everything that happened on it.
So clearly, she's full of shit.
Out of her entire story about these aliens and urinary catheters and extracting adrenal fluids and blah, 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 I'm sitting there yelling at my radio while there's like 2 kids trying to sleep in the back seat. Being like, lady, you are full of shit. There's no way that a few grains of ketamine are gonna make you lose time. It's full. So that was kind of amusing. And it's really funny because, like, you know, after these kids that, you know, I pick up that think they're the strange ones hear me like yelling at my radio about how this lady is full of shit, not because she believes in this aliens and stuff, but because she obviously doesn't know how ketamine works. Yeah. So that was pretty amusing. And
all right. I just learned some shit.
Yeah. There was a time period where like and this is not something I'm proud of now as a grown up that really doesn't do hard drugs anymore. Like where like I walked around with this copious amount of drug knowledge in my head, and like people would be like, "Hey, I've always wanted to try that." Really? Well, let me sit down and tell you all about it. You know? Like let me prepare you so that when you start freaking out, you can remember what I said and be like, "Oh, I don't need to freak out. I'm not gonna die right now." You know, like all I gotta do is be cool, and everything's gonna be all right. And now, luckily, I have to remind myself of that all the time when it comes to like politics and nuclear disasters and world turmoil, because there's an ingrained tendency to be like panic and like, oh my God, the sky is falling. And then what was that Bob Marley said?
Don't worry, be happy.
Have no fear for atomic energy because none of them can stop the time.
Damn.
And it's a pretty simple statement, but when you think about it, everything's gonna kind of be all right. Yeah. That everything might be a little indifferent to you personally, but hey, maybe we get more than one go around at this.
Yeah, you never know. Shit. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Neil.
No last names.
I have your last name on the page.
I'm glad my cover's done. Lately, I've been feeling so strange. Some people say that I'm just deranged. My priorities have been rearranged. No longer content with the script on the page.
Oh no!
Actually, that'll work in my favor because for the I've been a dropout in various forms, and I've also been like a programmer and fucking government data forensics guy and somebody that's done just crazy shit that I regret now, like doing some of the first data mining programs, writing software that analyzed your urinalysis results. Scary shit that has made me completely distrusting and disgusted of my previous like IT career. So the last time I had a job and dropped out of it because I thought I was having a heart attack and checked myself into the hospital because I forgot that everything's going to be okay. I just totally left. I threw most of my shit in the dumpster, the rest of my truck, and just fucking drove away. And then, you know, things lead to other things, and next thing I know, I'm driving around the country with crazy people listening to crazy radio shows. And in the meantime, to help keep my sanity, when I'm sitting there under street lamps in Walmart parking lots at night, I whip out the notebook and I write little stories, you know, about the stuff that's going on. Whether it's 100% true or not is really my secret to keep. But it's great. So if I sound like a lunatic and stuff, hopefully people will be like, well, I would like to read some stuff by this lunatic.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for Wits End, which is already a completed novel that should be published and coming out at the beginning of 2015. And the one that I'm currently penning is The Owl Queen, and has something to do with what I mentioned about Alpha Centauri, but I won't say how much. I don't want to put off the normal people just yet, you know.
Yeah. Ah, shit. So this is Destination Detour, the podcast that gets lost on purpose. I'm JM Romig. This is Neil Brooks. And today we're just going to shoot the shit about, you know, his travels, where he's been, what's been going on with him, and, you know, whatever. I haven't seen this guy in almost a year. He dropped off the face of the planet, like, middle of a D&D game, just gone. So, like, he pops out of nowhere. He's like, hey, I'm coming back to hang out for a bit.
Yeah, I think my character fell in the magic hat that leads to Tara Reid's vagina.
Yeah, your character fell into the magic hat that leads to Tara Reid's vagina, because we play D&D that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. So we don't know where we're going. We just know we're going to have fun doing it.
Right on. Yeah, I found myself spending this past Thanksgiving in the middle of Texas, actually right outside of Houston, at the same time as DuPont had their massive chemical spill, and I happened to stumble across a river full of dead fish, which I took a picture of, posted it on, you know, social media land. But since I'm not a scientist and can't prove that DuPont had anything to do with that and blah, 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 it's neither here nor there. But I'm with this just kind of ragtag group of people that have set up this camp out in the woods, and they have this impromptu, like, it's Thanksgiving, let's just kind of ransack all the food that we can get together and see what we can come up with. So, like, at an outdoor kitchen over, like, a propane grill and a fire, we're cooking up everything from, like, sweet potatoes to fettuccine Alfredo and I don't know, I think there was some Mexican food involved, and it was really just a all-culture smorgasbord, and really limited and graced by our limitations. You know, it was like we didn't get to, like, go to the store and be like, let's buy this and this and this for our Thanksgiving dinner. We're just kind of like, let's raid our tents and see what we got we can put together. And in the process of that, of cooking all this food with these you know, people I barely know, and then arranging everything, dishing it out, you know, chopping firewood to keep the fire going, and everybody had a job to do, and everybody's having a good old time, and we put this giant buffet line together, and everybody, like, takes their plates and just, like, loads them up with just the strangest mix of stuff that all ends up kind of blending together in ways that you're just like, what am I eating right now? And I suddenly felt this intense sense of family with all these strangers. I was like, I am a ridiculous amount of miles away from my home in Ohio, and yet I have found this Thanksgiving dinner with strangers that feels like home, and it's all very temporary. You know, like nobody really stays one place too long when you're in these kind of groups and stuff, and but by the end of it, when we're like done and we're drinking some like hot red wine with cinnamon in it, and we're sitting by the fire and the sun's going down and the stars are coming out, and I started thinking about Christmas dinner with the folks, seeing the cousins, seeing friends who all just tend to gravitate towards home on the holidays, and thinking about how it's the one time a year that you can really just drop in and kind of freeload off your family for a couple weeks, and nobody really minds. They're all like happy that you're there. The rest of the year, you know, fuck off, you're being a burden. But in Christmas time, you have that spirit that it's like, you're celebrating Jesus. It would be pretty rude not to accept somebody as they are on Jesus' birthday.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah, exactly.
So it's great. And before that moment, I had no intentions on going home ever, as far as I was concerned. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, holy shit, I miss these people. I miss everybody. Oh my God. And then so it was like a fuse was lit that led to a wildfire. You know, I'm just like, all of a sudden I'm having like reveries for all these great memories of great times that I spent with people that had nothing to do with why I was so frustrated with where I was when I was there. It was really just my shitty job I had, the overwhelming bills I had, the stress that I was under to try to keep up with this society. And since I had dropped out of that, I just kind of remembered what was really important, and it was that human connection that you have with people. History, like time, like what makes a friend, and it's like that time you spent together. It's like, yeah, somebody could like look really cool and be into all the same things that you're into, and otherwise just be somebody that you're like, this person is awesome, but I've never spent any time with them. I really don't know them. And then there might be somebody else that you're like, I got nothing in common with this dude. Shit, most of the time we don't even agree, but we've spent so many years together, it doesn't make any sense to not be friends now, you know, like, like, yeah, we might argue or something, but, you know, like, water under the bridge. And it might happen again, and it might be water under the bridge again. So I started this really long journey to get home, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna fucking jump in my truck and drive home. I didn't have any money. So I found some kids there that were like, we need to get to Florida, and we've got money to get there. And I'm just like, well, Florida is a little closer to home than Texas, right? You know? And it's like driving straight across 10 instead of snaking your way up a bunch of interstates diagonally, which just doesn't really work very well, especially if you're like trying to stay on main routes where you can actually park your car and ask for money and somebody will give it to you, kind of thing. If you're out in the middle of BFE, good luck, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It could go either way. Not to say it wouldn't happen, but so I'm like, okay, we can do that. All right, so I'm going to Florida, and then I meet this other kid who actually gave me this thing, which I don't know how well you can see it. It's a really cool little Sacred Heart wire wrap. So he's like, I live in New Orleans. Nolans,
yeah.
So if you guys are going that way anyways, can you drop me off at my house? You guys can crash there. It'll be cool. Well, fuck yeah, that sounds awesome. And he can throw in a little bit on gas pitch and stuff. So we're like, well, let's do it. So now it's like, 9 o'clock at night. We get on the road. We blow all the way to New Orleans, and fucking get there at 4 a.m. and just go to sleep on a hardwood floor. Like, who cares? You're so tired. It doesn't matter. And next day get up and do the New Orleans thing during the day, and you're just like, wow, this stuff's cool. And he's like, no, it's not. He's like, this is nap time. You know, like we've been up for a couple hours. We got some coffee. We got some beignets.
Baguettes?
No, beignets. It's like a little pillow of dough covered in powdered sugar.
Oh, huh.
Really good.
Never heard of them. Yeah.
And it's just kind of the New Orleans thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we get those in the morning because some of these kids had money and
Yeah.
so I guess, you know, being the driver, you get a little bit of extra privileges. Nobody really minds buying you a cup of coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, it's nap time. You know, people are like, oh, we don't want to take a nap. We just got up and then we're in a new place. And he's like, no, it's nap time. We're like, okay. So we go back to his place, go back to sleep, you know, which is like having a little trouble. You know, make some ramen noodles, you know, okay, finally go to sleep. Then we get back up at night, and now I understand what he was talking about, because that place is off the hook at night. And it's not just like, yeah, we're doing the tourist thing where we're going to get drunk all up at every bar down Bourbon Street and make assholes out of ourselves. It's going to be great. We're just like, we're going to sit on a street corner and play chess while this dude tries to sell his jewelry, and some other dude tries to sell books, and there's a big art fair going on down the street. And then all of a sudden this huge brass band, like 7-piece brass band, sets up across the street and starts blowing some of the best swing music you've ever heard, and you can't even like stand still, and you're watching all these people like record it on their phones, and you're just like, I can't stop dancing. I don't know how you can hold your phone still like that. And just great time, and all of a sudden it's just clicks, man. This place is raw. It's life force. It's every class, every race, everything brought together into just one, just like every night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, it doesn't matter, all night till 5 in the morning. Let's just enjoy it, you know, like let's just talk to people. Let's just have wild conversations. Let's talk about who we think we might be reincarnations of. Let's just share cigarettes. Ask people for their little white boxes full of leftovers that they're tired of carrying around anyways. You know, it ain't bad. I'll tell you that. And rent's really cheap, and you're just like, man, this is the kind of place to be. As long as it's not a hurricane. And then, like, just about anybody that you meet there has a Katrina survival story, and they're so affected by it that they still kind of feel the need to tell it every day. And it's not a bad thing. It's just them coping with the fact that, like, they went through something traumatic and nobody was there to help them. Yeah. You know, it's like 20 years ago there was a hurricane and the MPs would come in and they would actually open the grocery stores and be like, come on guys, get some food, you know, this stuff's gonna rot anyways. And nowadays they stand in front of the stores with guns just to make sure nobody steals the rotting food that is insured anyways. A whole different environment.
That's crazy.
And so that's great. So we spent a couple days. I sat out there and made a little money and stuff, so I was able to have something in my pocket when we left Florida. So then it's like, we go all the way to Florida, end up there on a full moon, and find a giant drum circle going on in the middle of Orlando under the full moon with like 70-degree weather, gorgeous, awesome energy, people just howling and shouting, and people banging drums, and people shaking shakers, and people spinning fire, and just, it's off the hook. And you're just like, Orlando? You know, like, I thought this was old people and yuppies. But it turns out there's a little bit of cool just about anywhere. Yeah. So then that's great. We do all that thing, and then it's like I'm off on my own. So it's like I visit some friends in South Carolina on the way. I go to some little town in the middle of South Carolina and start like flying the sign outside of a Walmart being like, going home, need gas, God bless. Get totally hooked up with enough money to make it all the way back to Ohio in one straight run. Do an 11-hour run, just blam, straight food. And pulled up to my buddy's house here, and he was nice enough to, like, you know, leave a key and some towels out and be like, take a shower. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, I just took a shower in Florida, it's okay. And then I'm just like, wait, normal people do that every day. And then I'm in there just kind of like being amused about, you know, like gender specific soaps and stuff, you know, soaps for men. And I'm like, well, at least I didn't come out smelling like lavender or anything, so that's cool.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, that brings me to here. And then at some point today, I'm gonna go the rest of the way up to Cleveland and just see family for the first time in a year, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about the holiday, but it's like I'm even more excited to know that once it's all over, a couple weeks into January, I'm getting back on that road. You know, like I'm not gonna get sucked into the same trap that I've kind of fallen into a few times of being like, whew, that was exhausting. Maybe I should just give up the road and stay here. No, just recoup. You know, get some energy back, get some good humor and some good new memories to carry with you, and then just get back on it. And I've always found that when I do the holidays with the family and my own stuff the rest of the year, it all works out much better. When I try to do my family the rest of the year, then use my holiday, which would be the only time I would get off work, to actually go do something I want to do, it just don't work so well. You end up like stressed out all year, and then it's like you finally try to take your vacation days, and they're like, no. no, sorry, we need you. Well, I need stuff too, man. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at now. It's been a fun ride, and it's gonna continue to. Somebody asked me recently when I told them I was coming back. They were like, "Man, how was the road?" And I was like, "Oh, it's got its ups, its downs, its curves, its turnarounds. It's got its dead ends, but and a lot of lost kids and some beautiful scenery along the way, and it's all kind of perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing." And if I could wrap that up and keep that thought and apply it to every single facet of my life, I would be a pretty satisfied person all the time. As it is, though, I do have my like, what the fuck am I doing out here, man? I'm sitting in a Walmart in the middle of the night. Oh man, my mom would be so embarrassed. You know, like, like don't tell grandma and grandpa what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But actually, it's the exact opposite. I'm looking forward to going there and being like, hey, remember that like crazy kid I always was? Well, I still am. You know,
Yeah.
like now it's even better because I'm totally responsible for it. I don't have anybody to blame. I'm not running from like, bad childhood memories or anything. I'm just kind of like, hey, there's this whole work. I don't know. I guess I would call it a like work culture where it's like work, don't live. You know, it's like no, you don't got time to live. You know, like you have to work to live, and it's like, well, to me that ain't living.